Welcome to the Mix Minus Podcast. This is Matt McQueenie, and it is that time of year again, Matt. It's bowl season. Matt O'Daniels is here. We always jump right in because we don't have to say who it is. Big bowl season coming. A lot of the same teams in the playoffs. If you're thinking of Alabama and Clemson, Oklahoma, and now Notre Dame comes in, which will be interesting. But before we get into that, this is the first time we're doing a podcast since we went to Austin, Texas back in September. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and actually a friend of mine who's a Florida State fan, he's not going to see his team play in a bowl, and neither are the Trojans. And the one good thing about that whole Texas debacle, which was basically the story for the Trojans, not being able to punch back after scoring in the early portion of the game, is that they got Cliff Kingsbury back. So hopefully that'll change the culture or something. I mean, something's got to change. They had nowhere to go but up. But yeah, it's been a while, and I don't know. It's just weird to not see USC play in a bowl game. That's just like, I don't know. It's
insane. I mean,
I'll even take an Emerald Bowl. I don't care. Like the Beef O'Brady's, whatever, Quick Lane.
Yeah, the Boise State,
it's just strange.
The Blue Field Bowl, right? But you know what's funny is we did get to see Texas there, and I think there was a feeling because it was early in the season, they had lost to Maryland, that the loss felt a lot worse. But I think when we were watching Texas in person, they appeared to be better than it felt they were. Than it felt at the time that maybe people were thinking, oh, it's still a step back season. They ended up in a really good position, to be honest. I mean, they were kind of in that game. They had beaten Oklahoma earlier in the season. All the games this season that they lost were only by an average of 3 points. They ended up being a much better team, I think, than people were ready for them to be.
Yeah, maybe a year ahead of schedule. It just the Big 12 is points galore, and I don't know. They were. It's hard to get a pulse on the Big 12 because, I mean, I was really disappointed with the way West Virginia, I was kind of pulling for them to represent the Big 12 this year. I was really looking forward to them, doing something crazy, and then they go ahead and lose at home, to Oklahoma, and then another disappointing team Washington State. I was just like, I wanted to see perhaps them go on a run and just give them a shot against like Alabama. They probably wouldn't even keep it close, but just to see the contrast of styles, those two teams, they really kind of, for me, they really, it stinks. When you're rooting for a team all year, and even though your own team like USC just couldn't do anything, I was kind of hoping that Washington State or West Virginia would do something, and they didn't do anything. So now we were stuck. Not stuck, but I mean, I don't know. Alabama, they struggled against Georgia, obviously, but I still think with the injuries and shit, I mean, they're just still they are the premium team. I mean, I don't know who's going to give them a game, honestly. Like even Clemson, they might, but I think it's Alabama's title to lose.
Yeah, we'll jump into those games. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the trip itself. That was the first trip I've gone to on a USC trip, and I obviously have nothing to compare it to, but that felt like one of the more awesome trips you can go on. I mean, in all the ones you've gone on, was that up there at the top?
It is not like when the next few days I was like, what a waste, this stinks. But we were there for a record-setting crowd, 103,000 burnt orange in the seats. We saw McConaughey. I mean, Austin is University of Texas, and it was a cool environment. Certainly the night before, walking around and seeing the live music and just everybody. I don't know. It felt like the place to be, and it was very cool. I mean, I was very happy to have gone.
Yeah, I never experienced anything like that in that stadium. Being up where we were and things were shaking. I mean, that was
the cannon.
The cannon. You have the flyover for a September game.
Oh my gosh! What's so funny is that that there was so much there, and then I was just so pissed that USC didn't make it on fourth down that I forget about all the cool things that were happening. I mean, we were getting heckled on the way up. Texas fans were sticking it to us, but they were nice. It was a great trip. I mean. Although the weird part was the getting in and out of the stadium, the elevator system there is a little weird.
Yeah, well, or the walking system. I mean, it took a day to get back to the main part there. That was.
But I mean, but you liked the whole atmosphere? I mean, were you? What did you say? That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal trip. I mean, Austin was a fantastic city. The food was great. The drinks were great. The bulletproof coffee, like the hotel was fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then I was really proud of myself to get back to the airport overnight without sleeping. And I'll tell you what,
that was a veteran move right there.
That was one of the. I do have to say, I didn't even think about the way back because when I came in, it was literally only like 24 hours before. I was there so quick, and Spirit Airlines worked out, which was fantastic. But when I drove in, it's light. So, and there's a lot of cars out there. Driving back was one of the scariest things I think I've ever done.
With no lights?
No lights, very few places along the way. And there were points where I'm like listening to the Economist audio edition, and there were points where I would go to pick up my phone, and I'm like, don't do that. What are you doing? Don't do that. Like, it's not worth it. What are you going to see at Sunday 2 a.m.? Like, what are you going to see? And it was so dark and the road was so thin, and it was a 75 mile an hour speed limit too. And there was nothingness forever. I'm like, it's just not worth picking up your phone and going off the side of the road. No one will find you till the morning. So that was real. It was kind of scary, but maybe it was placebo, but I thought that bulletproof coffee was like magical. I never had another one again, but that was magical. And then I got into Cypress, Texas, which was about 40 minutes still from the airport. And I got in there and I found a Waffle House. So I'm just like eating at Waffle House at like 2:30 in the morning, Houston time, just randomly soaking it all in, sitting at the, right up at the bar thing of the Waffle House, just eating, going over my picks against the spread for the Sunday games. It was crazy. And I do have to tell you, did you guys get nailed by, they had that, it's like a scam, the, what's it called? The toll system. Did you get hit with those? Did you get anything in the mail?
No, we actually didn't. My brother's pretty good at that, that planning of getting around. So we did not. What happened with you? They trying to.
Did you guys have an Easy Pass of some sort?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so I was talking to the car clerk when I got the car, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to need that because they have like that $12 a day thing, and it like basically gives you Easy Pass. And I said, I don't think I have tolls on my trip, and if I don't, if I do, I'll just stop and pay. And so I would stop and pay wherever I saw one. There was a few, and then when you get near Austin, there was literally just like the Easy Pass thing. There was nowhere to pay a toll, and then it was like something like call or mail in, and it's like, what, mail in what? I don't even know how much it is. And so it's this whole thing. It's it's Thrifty Texas toll scam or something. And so about 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail, and it was like, you owe $120. I'm like, what? And what they do is they charge you for the toll and then a $15 administration fee that Thrifty takes for each one. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then I found a Thrifty toll fine or something.com, and I just on a lark, I just wrote into it, and I was like, there was nowhere to stop. And so they're like, well, you know what? We can offer you the $12 a day for the 2 days you were there. That would significantly bring your price down to about $24. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Oh my God. There must be people who just take it and eat that. And then they're like, for your convenience, we will only do no more. We won't do any more than 6 administration fees for any trip. So the most you could pay is, $75. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. So like I saved all this money with the flight and the car rental, and then you end up getting eaten alive by these toll scams. It's unbelievable.
But they're doing you a favor. I didn't hear about that. So that must have been, Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was cool though. It was a lot of fun. It was good to be in that environment, and you probably feel a little bit better about the USC way things went because you got the new offensive coordinator who will be the new coach, obviously, probably within a year, and then or 2 years, and then you also have you saw that Texas ended up being
probably one of the top teams outside of the elite in the country.
Yeah, they had a big year. What's so weird is that I just didn't, with the eye test, obviously, USC didn't do anything defensively that would make you think they were any good. But they have athletes in at their skill positions, obviously, and they're young on the offensive end. But I just didn't think Ellinger would. And they were a good team. They played like a team. They made plays when they had to throughout the year. But I thought Oklahoma's better. But yeah, it was a fun time. It was definitely a great trip, and I don't know if I'd go back though. I don't know. It was okay.
Well, you had a lot of driving. I mean, I think if you flew straight there and you spent 4 days there or something.
Yeah, I really, what impressed me though was LSU. I'd like to go see a game live there. That might be my next bucket list college football trip. But
yeah, does USC ever play LSU?
Nah, I don't know.
Bowl game maybe. So going into we'll go to the big bowl games here. So I've talked in the past about how my wedding anniversary is New Year's Eve, and I was always so mad that they would have the games on New Year's Eve because selfishly I couldn't keep my undivided attention on it because I'm celebrating my anniversary. And so I think they fixed that right in previous years, or maybe last year. They got away from New Year's Eve, which was a smart move. And now this year they're on the 29th. And guess who thought they would be smart and save a lot of money by not going on the 31st, but going on the 29th because it's a Saturday night this year. And so that would be me. So I pushed myself into the into the day anyway. So we'll have to see how that plays out for this year's anniversary. But it's pretty good. So, I mean, right off the bat, let's go into those games. We'll work a little backwards. In the past, we've worked from the first bowl game all the way to the end, and we don't get to the big bowl games till like an hour in. So let's go right off the bat. We'll do some of the big games here. We'll start with the 29th, but we'll start right with the college football playoff. Right off the bat, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, you have Notre Dame playing Clemson. Great job by Notre Dame this year, going undefeated. They always seem to get a loss or two to let nature take its course and not put them in the playoff. They did everything they could do that they had to do to get in the playoff. Obviously, being an unaffiliated team, not with a conference, it would probably be a better thing to have Georgia there. But I don't want to hear Georgia complaining. They had a hell of a valiant effort. But whoever won that, if Georgia won that game, they're in. If Georgia won, Alabama would still be in too, but not the other way around. Georgia wasn't going to lose and be in. They just had to win that one. So they did not. It would be a better game. It would be more competitive. I'm going to be surprised, I think, if Notre Dame matches Clemson here.
Yeah, just in terms of athleticism, obviously, Clemson's defense is, their D-line is, highly touted, looking at some NFL early round draft picks there. But Clemson really didn't play anybody either, if you look at their schedule. So it might be a coming out party for them. They struggled at home against Syracuse. They played I think they played Texas A&M was their only ranked opponent. But here's this. The good thing about Notre Dame being in is it really, in my opinion, it forces the expansion of the 4 to 8 or 4 to 6 or whatever. That'll take probably another 5 or 6 years. But Notre Dame getting in there kind of forces that because they're like the wild card. They have no conference allegiance. And I'd actually be willing to say that Ohio State probably gives Clemson a better game than Notre Dame. But Ohio State lost obviously in prime time to Purdue, which was not good. So I don't know. Notre Dame's kind of like Jekyll and Hyde. They could come out, but see, they played against USC so crappy in that first half, and they nearly lost. So I don't know. I guess Brian Kelly's going to have them for a month here to focus on the Tigers, but Dabo's pretty good too. So, and he's been there before. It should be a good game, but like you said, I don't really see Notre Dame winning. I like Clemson.
Will this be the 5th year in a row that it's Clemson, Alabama?
It's just one of those things where I wouldn't feel so bad if you're missing it because we know what's going to happen. And it's going to be, I think, 4 in a row if they do indeed match up. But those are the heavyweights. And, I mean, if you're Georgia, what are you doing with that fake punt? I mean, I don't know why. I don't know. I did 4 Alabama games this year, and I didn't expect – like the way I thought Georgia was for certain going to win this SEC. They should have learned from the title game's mistake, and they didn't. And how about Hurts coming in injured and doing what he did? It was truly, it was awesome to watch because you knew what Georgia had to do, and they didn't do it. And Alabama goes ahead and wins anyway. It was wild.
Well, that was an amazing turn of events for Jalen Hurts.
It was incredible.
for him to be taken out for Tua. And for Tua to become the guy, win that thing by himself, and then just roll through the regular season here. And it's really amazing when you think about the fact that his injury opened up the opportunity for Jalen Hurts to come in, and Jalen Hurts looked better than he ever looked. Like, he was passing the ball well, he was running well. I mean, he always ran well, but he was throwing some nice passes. And I think what you see there is, he obviously really wanted to transfer and play, and Nick was like, I need him. I have to have this guy because I can't afford, even though they probably have 4 quarterbacks, but I can't afford to have a drop-off if something happens to Tua. And they got to Tua. They got to Tua hard. He was getting knocked around,
yeah.
And I think that might end up being a warning for him at the next level. It'll be very easy to kind of batter him around if you don't have the line there. He's just so small that 1 or 2 hits just like... and again, not from his father with the belt, apparently. Jesus Christ. But 1 or 2 hits and he's out. And the extra amazing thing is that cost him the Heisman too. If he stays in that game, he wins the Heisman. But because he went out after he had the season he did, Kyler Murray sneaks in and wins the Heisman. I mean, the whole thing was amazing. I mean, it really was. It was fitting. It gave a moment to Jalen Hurts, which is good to see because he didn't do anything to deserve losing his job. In fact, he did everything you would think to hold it there, but Nick made the really tough decision to go with what he really felt was the better quarterback. And look, I always think that when the second quarterback comes in, you don't want to overreact to the successes they have because it's sort of like a change of pace. The other team was game planning for the one quarterback the whole time. So now at flip of a coin, the new guy's in and he can kind of catch you by surprise. But he did, just like Tua did last year. So I think it was a pretty...
it's incredible. You can't make it up. And I just think that, I mean, Georgia just shot itself. I mean, how many times do they need? It was just Alabama always comes out on top. They just always do. They don't choke, except for the 2016 game against Clemson. They're just incredible. They make the plays when they need to make them, and they. I mean, it's just. I was just surprised that they didn't take out Tua earlier, perhaps, because he was wobbling around in that first quarter. But Nick Saban is the man. It's just incredible. It
was more like a boxing match than a football game.
Yeah,
I mean, my God, that's unbelievable. So, that should be a pretty good game. I mean, I guess it could go any which way you think, but Oklahoma, we have obviously the 8 p.m. playing Alabama. They really, after losing to Texas, and when you look at the schedule, Oklahoma won like 6 games by 1 point.
Yeah,
or like
it's
really close.
It's kind of like, and obviously like Lincoln Riley is the guru. He's the offensive mind. He's the it coach other than Saban type of deal. I just think, I don't know if they keep it within, I don't know what the spread is, but I don't know. You got to play some defense and then a few 3 and outs, and then Alabama ball control, winds the clock down. Next thing you know, it's like 21-3 or whatever, and you're going to halftime. It's like, I think it's easier for Alabama to kind of control their style of play than it is for Oklahoma. It's just, it's not to take anything away from what Oklahoma does. It's fun, and they win and they throw the ball all over the place. But I thought they had a better chance last year, honestly, than this year. Hope I'm proven wrong, but
Well, it's really amazing when you think about the fact that Lincoln Riley, 2 different quarterbacks, Heisman back to back.
That's wild. Yep.
And Kyler Murray's going to go and play baseball. I mean, it's like it's kind of tremendous. Could he be like the Charlie Ward, for of football and baseball as opposed to basketball and we need more of that. We haven't seen that in a long time. We need the 2-sport player. But I think the really kind of, what if like Cleveland goes after Lincoln Riley and they're like, look what you did with Baker. Let's get you in here. But I mean, he's got a really good thing going there, but I mean, he might be looking to take a jump if he can get a win or two here. But the other thing was, isn't this the season where they fired Mike Stoops?
Yeah.
Is that crazy? They're in the playoff.
Yeah. So obviously something wasn't. It's one of those things where I think it was in the middle of October. I forget exactly.
It was after Texas, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then after the Red River, the game at the Cotton Bowl, and see you later. And I don't know. I just don't think it's the defense. It's not his. I think the whole thing needs to be changed. I don't think they have the. I don't see them competing at all with Alabama. I'm not buying it unless they somehow score 70. But
the amazing thing is Alabama could actually score that many. Probably
if they wanted to. I don't think. Yeah, but Nick's that. I don't think Nick would. I don't know. I don't think he'd ever compromise like what he wants to do. He's that. I don't know, mad or whatever. But that's why I wanted to see Leach play. I thought Leach with his teams and that offense would have been better because he's a little bit more, I guess, seasoned in his air raid offense than Riley. But I don't know. I just anything could happen, but I don't see Alabama blowing this one at all.
I think we're going to see Clemson, Alabama, which isn't bad. But
do you have any? Speaking of injuries and Hawaiian quarterbacks, Mackenzie Milton going down for Central Florida. I mean, had he stayed healthy, they would have said, "Hey, we're undefeated again. What about us?" And that would have been another, "Hey, let's expand to a 18 playoff sooner."
Yeah, I just think why not go to 8 at this point? I mean, it just makes it better. You have enough time, I mean, we're playing all these other bowls. Like, why not go to 8? And then
I think it's a no-brainer, but unfortunately or fortunately, it's just going to take everybody has the answer, but then you have the exams, and then you have the schools, and then you have so many contracts
and logistics. There's a lot at the stadiums.
There's so much that I don't see, but it makes sense just to go to 8. It's just going to take some time, unfortunately.
So a little earlier on Saturday, December 29th, got a pretty good ranked game here. Michigan, Florida, and who was the other team that snuck up there? Kentucky. Like, what the hell? But Florida, after the kind of drop off under McElwain, who is actually on Michigan's staff, I believe, as like the wide receiver coach. I think we talked about that in the preview. Florida got to 10. It's sort of like a weird. I mean, they would obviously be outside of it because they don't deserve to be there in the playoff. But how the heck did they get to 10? And I also think Michigan, Jim Harbaugh got a bit of a reprieve here. He might finally get his chance to have a run with Urban Meyer out of conference.
Yeah, it's and I can't believe they got absolutely blown. I mean, they gave up 62 points. Fine on the road, whatever. But
so did Ohio State to Purdue.
Yeah, it's. So I don't know what that says about anything, but yeah, maybe this finally opens the door for Harbaugh to go on a run. I mean, Urban obviously he's 4-0 against them, so that's a big deal for those teams. And I don't know. I don't know if the revenge tour. Yeah, it certainly wasn't. Didn't go the way they wanted it to go in Columbus that afternoon. But I think Michigan. I think they should beat Florida, but Michigan last year blew it against South Carolina in the Outback Bowl. They gave up all those points in the fourth quarter, losing that game to clearly they were inferior to Michigan. South Carolina was, but I don't know. I hope Michigan finds a way to steamroll Florida because I really would like to see that. But
yeah, It'll be a good one to watch in the build up to the game. Nice 12 o'clock. Then you also got the aforementioned,
That's at noon, yep.
The aforementioned South Carolina, Virginia. I don't know if there's anything in that game of note.
Yeah, that doesn't do anything for me, unfortunately. I guess for maybe recruiting or something, but like you're still in the SEC East. You're still second fiddle to Georgia and Alabama. I just don't.
And they're both 7 and 5. It's right in your backyard.
It's so I'm doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's any pros on there. Arkansas State, Nevada.
Well, here's the thing: that one receiver, what's his name for South Carolina? His name escapes me, but he's similar to Greer for West Virginia. They're not playing.
Is it Zacchaeus?
What's his name?
Oh, that's UVA, not South Carolina.
Yeah, this South Carolina receiver. He's going to the draft, so he's not playing in the bowl game.
Yeah, it makes sense to not do that. Not when unless you're in the playoff, it's just not worth it.
Right. It stinks.
It's like it was like when Jalen.
Debo.
Remember Jalen Smith? Like that wasn't even in the playoff. Remember he like tore his leg in half, and then it dropped his draft stock a lot. I mean, he's come back now, and started to approach what he was, but it's just not worth it. It's absolutely just not worth it.
Debo Samuel, that's right. He announced that he won't be playing, and I totally agree. I'd like to see. This sounds crazy, but I'd like to see the Georgia Tech Minnesota Quick Lane Bowl, only because row the boat with the Gophers, and Georgia Tech has a new coach. Paul Johnson has resigned from the Yellow Jackets, so no more triple option, or will they still run the triple option?
No, I don't think so. Yeah,
it's. So that'll be interesting. Auburn, Purdue, I guess that's the Music City Bowl. If you like offense, that might be a 52-50 game.
What day is that? That's on the 1st?
The Music, yeah. No, it's not. I'm sorry. The 28th. I'm all over the place here.
Oh, that's right. Let's look at so we got the 31st, my actual wedding anniversary. We got Cincinnati, Georgia, or Virginia Tech, 6 and 6. Ugh.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Military Bowl.
Liberty Bowl.
What happened to Stanford? 8 and 4, sort of like a blah season.
Well, Bryce Love was kind of hurt, and they didn't have a quarterback.
And who did Pittsburgh beat or come really close to beating this year? Didn't they?
They kept it close with Penn State.
Oh, that might have been it. Yeah, Penn State, of course, had a real down season. I mean, for where they're thinking. I mean, remember when you look back to James Franklin and saying, like, we need to be in these moments, we need to win those games, and then they go and lose a bunch more.
That's just the brutal division, that Big Ten East is so brutal. I mean, it's so brutal. The Red Box Bowl, Michigan State, Oregon, could be really good. I mean, it's 7-5 against
Herbert. I heard someone say in a draft thing that if he were in last year's draft, he would have been the 5th quarterback after Rosen, Allen, Darnold, and Mayfield. So now he's like the 1st quarterback. Although I've seen Drew Lock as well get a lot of pub as potentially a 1st round because they're reaching this year. There's just not the cache of quarterbacks that there were last year, which is funny because what have you thought about Sam Darnold with the Jets and Saquon Barkley with the Giants? I wanted the Giants to get Sam Darnold. Sam's been he's caught a little bit of the Jets, huh?
Well, it's funny. At News Channel, they think, I really don't watch the Jets, but they give me the Jets games. So when I'm doing the games, I'm into it. So I had the Jets Bills this last weekend, and it was fun. I mean, he actually, on the second possession, he went out to the tunnel. Something happened to his ankle. Here we go again type of deal. But he didn't play the last 3 weeks. It's the Jets. You're thinking the worst. He comes back, and he had that running around, and he found the receiver there. I think, what's his name? Robbie Anderson, right? Robbie Anderson in the end zone there to get it back. And then they got he has like those intangibles, like running around, finding an open man, like once he gets out of the pocket, which was fun to watch. But I don't know. I mean, it was it's the Jets. It's just I can't take him serious. I just can't.
Well, it's like he needs that to be in a good place, and you really need a quarterback to stay in the pocket because otherwise they get hurt. Kind of like when we were talking about Tua. But like the amazing thing is, and Saquon Barkley has done exactly what I thought he would do. I just think for the value for 10 years, for 15 years, you go with the quarterback. But Saquon has been just as ridiculous as he was
tremendous
at Penn State. I mean, ridiculous, like scary good. I mean, like how many games do they still have? They might have like 3 games left, and he's already got like 1,124 yards rushing. Like, and he pops off like an 80-yarder every game. I mean, he's crazy. He's a video.
He's pumping up his teammates. I mean, he's like the consummate, awesome teammate. Everybody likes him.
He's a good guy. But what do we think of Herbert? And it's funny because we're looking here. You got 3 o'clock and then 3:45 with Missouri, and that's who Locke plays for, right?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'd just be skipping back and forth. But I saw Herbert. I did 2 Oregon games this year. I mean, I think he's like a Josh Allen type in terms of like his body configuration, big arm, accurate. I don't know. I just think he didn't get enough pub because he plays in the West, and there's still a little mystery about him. And
they had 4 losses. People don't like to. People want a little more dominance. Although, how about Patrick Mahomes though? Like he went like 7-6 each year, and then he's like the most dominant quarterback in the NFL now.
I mean, and he's doing those look-off throws.
Oh my God, he's so good. Did he seem like he was going to be this good in college?
Well, it's funny. I had a discussion with my brother, and he was good, but like, it's just the Big 12. They just flip it around all over the place. But I mean, the Kansas City, I think they really were like, no, this is the guy, and they're going to believe in him and all that. And but doing what he's doing, I think. But it's similar to like, what you said about Tua coming into the second half. I mean, next year he probably doesn't have as big, barring something crazy, he probably doesn't have like a breakout year because then they'll have the buck on him. And I think that's the trend, kind of. It's like, Tony Sperano when he was, in 03 with the Dolphins, they went 115 to 11-5, and he was incorporating the Wildcat, and no one had really seen that before. So it kind of caught, defenses off balance, and you could exploit, their confusion or whatever. And, but Mahomes was like, my brother was like, oh, he's not going to be that good. And I mean, I thought he was going to be good, but I didn't think anybody thought he was going to be this good.
He's just dominant. It's crazy. Like that LA game was one of the best football games I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
and he had like 6 turnovers. It's like Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, wearing his dad's Mets jersey into the game. It was funny. Yeah,
I like him. He's fun. He reminds me a lot of Steph. He's like Steph Curry.
And he's just, I mean, it's not like, Kelsey's good. They obviously don't have Hunt anymore. It's really
Tyreek Hill. Yeah, but he's just the guy. He can. But his arm is it's like having the most ridiculous. It's like Steph Curry with like how he has ridiculous range. This guy can just throw it like 90 yards from like his feet staying still.
And now comes the Andy Reid question. It's like, I don't know. Is this the coach that's going to get him through? Yeah. They might have to get rid of him.
I know, right?
Like Mark Jackson.
Now, how about Locke?
It's weird because Missouri is just one of those teams that, who cares about Missouri football? But yet we're going to have a ridiculous offense that no one really knows, similar to like Kentucky. But Locke is just, he's not as physically imposing. He just knows the system. He's like a Texas Tech quarterback, like a Kingsbury or like, what was those 2 other guys that were just normal guys, but they knew the system. It's kind of like, Gardner Minshew out at Washington State. I mean, he just walked into Washington State and he knew what he needed to do. And like, I don't want to say system quarterback, but it helps if you know the system and you know where to throw.
Then we got Northwestern Utah, which is just not the 7 p.m. New Year's game. That is actually a perfect 7 p.m. New Year's game because it's like, what? NC State, Texas A&M. How did the Jimbo Fisher contract work out? I mean, that's unfair in year 1, but wow.
I mean, did you catch any of that LSU Texas A&M game by any chance? The 74-72?
No, I just saw the score.
Well,
that wasn't the basketball game?
No, dude. So I turned it off. LSU had the turnover at the end of the fourth quarter. They dumped the Gatorade bucket on Orgeron. No, Texas A&M quarterback's knee was down. So they added another play to run, and they score, and it went back and forth to 8 overtimes, and then finally Texas A&M won. And I don't know. A lot of people, especially the Florida State fans that I know, aren't a big Jimbo Fisher fan. So there's no love lost. They really don't care about Aggie football, and they'd like to not see him anymore.
Wow. So now let's go to New Year's Day, and then we can go through some of the games of what we see. So if we're looking at rankings, Mississippi State's playing Iowa. Again, I didn't realize Mississippi State was 18th ranked.
It's not a really a great year for college football.
Yeah, LSU, UCF. If the aforementioned quarterback were there, it might be a little different.
Right.
But talk about, so we got Kentucky, Penn State, 12 and 14, both with 3 losses. So Penn State is a letdown to be at 3. But what's the story with Kentucky? Like, how are they here? Like, who's their coach? How are they good all of a sudden?
Well, Kentucky football is it's a surprise to most. I think with the kind of it's Georgia in the SEC East, and Kentucky just had one of those. They beat Florida. They just had one of those years where they got hot, and I mean, you throw enough crap on a wall, something will stick. I mean, remember Vanderbilt was good in that division a few years back when they had Rodgers or whatever. I mean, it's just one of those deals where, they were ranked in the top 25 for the first time since like 1984. I just don't know. This isn't Hal Mummy's Kentucky Wildcats.
Hey, who's their coach?
It is.
Isn't it a former assistant or something?
Yeah,
Let's see.
Oh gosh.
So they got, let's see here, 9 and 3. Well, that's just the roster. So
yeah, it's Stoops. I knew it. I knew it's Mark Stoops.
It's one of the Stoops, or is it a different?
Yeah, he's been there for a few years, and
that's
he's
funny.
a good recruiter, and he's not. But see, Kentucky football, they're not getting the cream of the crop as far as recruits are concerned, but. You kind of develop, all right, this is who we are and this is what we're going to do with what we have. And they kind of caught lightning in a bottle. They have a decent defense, but I mean, it's like next year it could be South Carolina. Well, and the next year after that might be Tennessee. It's just, there's really no, other than Georgia and Alabama, it's everybody else. I mean, but that's Mark Stoops over there.
These are now we got these are some real nice games actually from this 1 to 5 to 8:45. Washington, Ohio State that
doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't do anything for me.
Well,
I'm just so down on the Pac-12.
Now, does it not do something for you because is Ohio State now not a must-watch anymore because Urban's gone? Like they're going to kind of fall off, right?
I think it's more Peter. I think it's more for Washington. I mean. There's nothing really I look at it this way. I don't think Ohio State has to play for anything. I mean, yeah, they do. They'd like to win, obviously. It's the first time both teams are meeting up in the Rose Bowl. But it's just one of those deals where I think there's more for Washington in the game. I mean, they haven't done anything since their appearance in the college football playoff.
And they didn't. I don't think they did anything there either.
Well, they played Alabama close, and
was that one close?
I mean, in the first half, they just kind of screwed up.
Oh yeah,
they kept it kind of tight, and then the second half, Alabama. It's just one of those things where the Pac-12 is so bad. Like, can they repeat another horrible bowl performance from last year? They might. I mean, they might want to. I don't know what they have to do. The whole conference is wacky.
What do you think of Dwayne Haskins as a quarterback? His numbers are absurd. Almost 4,600 yards, 47 TDs. He's actually, I've seen some mock drafts where the Giants might take him. What do you think of him?
I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, with the exception of the Purdue game, I mean, he played great in that Maryland game. Obviously, breakout party against Michigan, but it was kind of weird to see Ohio State kind of. I mean, they always had talent all over the place. But when I think of Ohio State, I don't think of their quarterback throwing 40, lighting it up.
It's insane. Yeah, it's a lot.
It really is.
And now,
I don't know.
The thing I can't understand is
the Cheez-It Bowl.
Well, you got that, but like for Ohio State, boy, what's our old friend Greg Schiano? The guy, obviously is basically got a handshake agreement to take over Tennessee. They basically riot in the streets for the guy not to go there. He goes back to Ohio State. I know Joey Bosa, who's Nick Bosa is potentially the number one pick. And he's just like, yeah, peace. I'm going to step aside, which fine.
Yep.
But is Greg Schiano a great defensive wizard? If he's got the talent, and there was a lot of points they let up this year. It was like Big 12.
Yeah, but you know what? When they needed, it was so. Look, you can't having what Ohio State had in the beginning of the year with that whole, drama with the assault and the coaches. That obviously took a toll. That's you don't want that, and I think they did as best as they could. I think the Michigan game was more of that really surprised me more than anything. The loss to Purdue was bad, but I did not see them throwing up 62 points. It just and they shut down. Schiano did a great job with this schematically, if you will, against Michigan. They shut them out in the second half.
And I think the last game is Texas-Georgia. This should be good only because Georgia might not go full bore and Texas will. So they might almost meet in the middle somehow.
That's a great point.
It means more to Texas, just like the other game we were talking about.
But in the SEC, it means more. That's their phrase on their commercials.
That's right.
It just means more. I don't know. I just think calling fake punt there is just it's a horrible decision. And I don't know. I just think even a disinterested Georgia team beats the crap out of Texas, or not beats the crap out of them, but beats Texas. Yeah. But you're right. Texas is going. They'll probably fly in McConaughey, and he'll do the whole hook 'em, and they'll be geared up to go. But
and Herman will probably have a bunch of tricks too, so you could always get some sneaky things going on there. But it's a game worth watching because we just saw what Georgia did, and Texas is on some kind of ascent, maybe.
And those are football programs that people tune in to watch. Blue Bloods, if you will.
Great name too of the receiver, Lil Jordan Humphreys.
You know what? Thanks. You mentioned that, and that was another thing that was so. It just made me nuts because the USC laid down and they made him look good, but that's what you heard. He made it. He had 11 catches that night in Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot about the fly. It was a great game. So if you have the chance, get to Austin and go see a game. But I don't know if they'll have 103,000. USC traveled too, but
yeah, that was pretty outstanding. All right, so let's go back. We've done a lot of the big games here, so maybe we can kind of push our way through the rest in maybe 20 minutes or so. Saturday, December 15th, we're already here. It's crazy how quickly bowl season comes upon you. On Saturday, the 15th, do we see anything here that excites us? Tulane, Louisiana, Utah State, North Texas. Arizona State obviously has Herm, but I don't know if that interests us. Fresno State is ranked 21 with 11-2 record. What's their story?
Well, they went on the road and beat Boise State for the Mountain West in a snowy Albertson Stadium last weekend and won the Mountain West. Nothing flashy. They're just a solid. Jeff Tedford took that program that was 2 years ago, 1-11 or whatever. So he's had a quick turnaround up at Fresno. But it really wasn't a great Mountain West year, I didn't think. Matt Wells going to Texas Tech, whoop-de-doo. He's a former coach at Utah State, but I didn't think the Mountain West was anything to. It wasn't too. It was just a regularly. They might. I don't know. It was like a regular Mountain West year. It wasn't like anything spectacular, in my opinion.
Then we got Ted. Sorry.
No.
Then we got Georgia Southern, Eastern Michigan, Middle Tennessee, Appalachian State. Appalachian State was the one who played Penn State pretty well.
Yeah, and they're another 10 years. I think it's 4 straight years of 10 wins for the Mountaineers. They're up in Boone, North Carolina, and they'll travel. They'll certainly travel to New Orleans, and it's that they're playing the Middle Tennessee State. I like App State to win that game.
So now we get to the point where there's like one bowl a day and they all stink. We got UAB, Northern Illinois. UAB, no, they didn't lose their football program, right? Or
they did 2 years ago. The Blazers were, and now they're back in the bowl game. So they actually have like 5 or 6 players that were on the team.
Oh my God,
4 years ago that are still there. It's wild.
Oh my God. And then Northern Illinois,
Now, what do you think about Boston College and Syracuse? I mean, Boston College playing Boise State in the First Responders Bowl. Did you watch any of Boston College this year?
So Boston College and Syracuse, not a lot, because every time I'd look up, it wasn't like meaningful yet. And I've watched I watched some Syracuse because my brother Mike went there, and they did have a bit of a resurgence. Yeah, we were watching that in Austin, right?
Yeah, the Dino Babers, they almost beat Clemson, man. They really did. They punched Clemson in the mouth, and they almost beat him down there in Clemson.
They've been legit. I mean, they sort of are legit now in a way, like a lower level legit. And then if they can make a couple more steps, you never know. I mean, Clemson's in there, but like you said, Clemson has a pretty easy schedule. Why can't another team take advantage of that same
Who's to say that Babers can't get another Donovan McNabb or whatever, or like a big name blue chip up there and play for him? It can be done.
Yeah, the key, just don't throw the Babers out with the bathwater.
I do like his post game celebration in the locker room. Those are fun.
Cool. San Diego State, Ohio is Wednesday, the 19th. I don't know about that. I know they had
I'm not trying. It's just there's nothing really going on.
Marshall, South Florida. South Florida is the coach is. Is that still Charlie Strong, or was he Central?
Yeah, that's Charlie Strong. He's down with the Bulls.
So he's South Florida, right? Yeah. So they've fallen back to 7-5. Poor Charlie. Speaking of Texas, Florida International, Toledo. Oh wow, I like that one. I like the name of the 20th one, by the way. The Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
Gasparilla Bowl. It's funny. I actually did that game last year. They play at the Trop, so clearly just an awful venue. And then on the sideline, you have these big blown up,
ships or
lawnmowers.
Oh boy!
And it's a bad boy. It's like I got a mean dog, and it's a conversation piece, that's for sure. But that's just not exactly the ideal place to be playing football at the Trop.
That's true. Jeez.
And South Florida's bringing the 5.
Oh no, this one. The Gasparilla's at Raymond James this year.
Oh, it is. They made the change.
You got to do
last
that.
year. Yeah. Last year it wasn't, but South Florida is bringing that 5-game losing streak into, and that's a home game for them. I mean, it's in Tampa. Gee whiz!
My favorite part of this game is when you look at ESPN's little preview boxes. They'll have players to watch: pass, rush, receiving, and they always have a player. This one, there's pass and it's empty. It's a hard pass. Like I don't. Yeah.
Swipe right or left? Jeez.
That's right. Swipe to nothing. So then we got the 21st, Friday, December 21st, Florida International, Toledo.
No Lane Kiffin, by the way. I was kind of hoping for an FAU repeat performance, and no Lane. No Lane. No Owls.
Oh boy. Then we got Western Michigan, BYU. God, BYU 6-6 in Boise. This one's in Boise. That's at least worth watching the Blue Field, right? That's Albertson Stadium.
Yeah, and I always find it weird when BYU plays they're basically, a lot older than every team they play in sports, so it's just always weird to me. But, BYU fans will travel. They'll have the home field advantage if they want.
Saturday, Memphis, Wake Forest. A lot of Memphis on offense here. Then we got Houston, Army. Houston has a high pick at Oliver in the defensive end, but he's not. Is he playing? Didn't he have some issue where he wasn't dressed right or something? And was it who's the coach of Houston?
Geez,
is it Major like Applewhite or something?
Applewhite, yeah.
And he yelled at the best player on his team about like wearing the wrong thing or something.
Yeah, that's. I mean, clearly, Houston is a stepping stone for a bigger job, and I think that's what Applewhite wants to do. But it's going to be tough. Army's actually really good.
Army is a 3-point favorite.
They almost beat Oklahoma. It's the first time in how many years they've beaten Navy. It's now so. I mean, good for them. And they're always playing with house money. No one expects them to do anything. So I don't know. Maybe, but Houston's pretty potent on the offense. So I don't know. It's just weird. Always watch. It's not weird. It's fun. I actually was probably one of 40 people to watch the Coastal Carolina Alabama game, when the SEC plays those cupcakes in the middle of November.
Yeah.
I actually watched that first half, and Coastal scored a touchdown. It was like their Super Bowl. Saban was pissed, but the triple, because no one, triple option, who prepares for that? It's basically running a fast break, and
it's like facing a knuckleballer in baseball. You're just not going to practice it that much, but it can burn you, if they're on.
Yeah, so I mean, Army's a 3-point favorite.
Yeah, 3-point favorite. Buffalo, Troy. Troy, 2 seasons in a row had a big time win. Right? They beat LSU last year. Who did they beat this year? They beat someone good. Pull up their schedule here.
I remember that LSU game. That was just shocking.
Nebraska. That didn't end up being a good win because Nebraska was just Scott Frost. Oh boy.
They were frosty up in it was bad.
I thought that was a good win.
Is there any consolation that Milton getting hurt kind of makes it a little okay that he left? I don't know. That was brutal. I mean, that's brutal.
Yeah, they're already talking about like buying him out in Nebraska. Like, whoa.
This is after. Well, he said, "I'm going to retire to Florida." So I mean, it was kind of.
And then we got the Hawaii Bowl, and of course Hawaii's playing there against Louisiana Tech.
So yeah, no travel for them.
No. All right, then we said we moved to Wednesday, the 26th. You got Boston College, Boise State, Brett Rippon, Boise State, right? That's Mark's son.
Yeah, nephew, and he broke all those records at Boise State as being the all-time leader in passing yards, what have you. But I mean, he's not as far as next level stuff. He's nothing wild.
Minnesota, Georgia Tech. We talked about the coach changing. The Temple coach took that job, I believe.
Yeah, and they'll be playing Duke, right?
Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Mini.
That's right.
In Ford Field, beautiful, scenic Detroit, December 26th.
I don't think you could pay me to go to that game, I can't go to a game up there. I just can't do it.
No, it'd be tough. California, TCU. Boy, 6-6 versus 7-5. That's not exciting. In Chase Field in Phoenix. Wow. Thursday we got Temple playing Duke.
Yeah, that might be a good game to tune into. Duke's always kind of got something up their sleeve, and it's weird. Like Duke's. Since Cutcliffe's there, the Duke's like legit. It's weird. They were never legit for that long, even when Spurrier was there. So good for Duke.
Miami, Wisconsin. Did we have a similar fall off with that coaching change over there? Boy,
I don't know what to say. It's like, and this isn't. I can't even like make fun of Rutgers. It's the whole year's been bad for everybody except. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer.
This is at Yankee Stadium too, and Wisconsin fell apart too. There were people had them with a pretty good ranking to start the season.
And they play in the easier division out in the West. Yeah, just nothing good. Nothing good.
Baylor, Vanderbilt, 2 6-6s on an off time. Oof. Matt Rhodes, right? The guy who took over there. Looks like it's going in the wrong direction. Friday, Purdue, Auburn. I think we talked about them in passing, but that's a 1:30 p.m. start on a Friday. That's interesting. In Nashville. So it's watchable if you don't got something going on. West Virginia, Syracuse. That's a nice game in
That's
Orlando,
nice
good weather, but no Will Greer. So
it's I don't know. I don't know what to say. I really don't.
I heard a little birdie who's close to the West Virginia program tell me that they have a very high-level quarterback coming there via transfer, but they couldn't say the name at this time.
Interesting.
So I was like, who could that be? I was trying to think. Couldn't be Jalen Hurts, right?
The Clemson guy, maybe?
Oh, yeah. That would be interesting, right? But he could, because he would have to be a senior, right? Because that's the only way you can play the next year. Is Kelly Bryant a senior?
Yeah, I think no, he's not. I think he's a junior. But here's the deal: like maybe Holgorsen leaves. That was his shot with Greer. He's been there for 8-9 years now, Holgorsen.
Yeah, but if they have this next guy coming, though, if they have the next quarterback coming, and I think they believe he's better than
just a tough place. That's not exactly. I mean, West Virginia is a tough football job to win, but if you win there,
like
you're
Syracuse,
king. And
a little bit.
Yeah, it's strange. And how about I don't know. I just I don't know. I don't know about that whole. I don't know what Holgorsen's doing up there. I really don't. If this guy is the next guy, then that's cool. But a quick descent is what I say.
Iowa State, Washington State, our last game here. We talked about Washington State, but I guess Iowa State.
Matt Campbell just re-signed a 4-year extension to stay there in Ames to be the head coach. But yeah, I mean, I tell you, that Friday night after Thanksgiving when Washington State lost, and it was brutal for me as a fan. You root for teams that aren't your teams, and then they stink. And that's just my year in a nutshell. It just really was. It stinks, but it's okay.
So what are we? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm planning to go to the game in Provo. USC is going to play at BYU on September 14th next year. So I'll be attending that game for my road trip out in Utah. So it's not going to be Austin, but it'll be Provo.
There won't be much alcohol, right?
Indeed.
Let's just do our normal ender with the coaching carousel here. What do we think of hirings and firings? I'm looking through here. We know Chris Kleiman took over for Bill Snyder, who I didn't even know was still alive. Gary Anderson
He's back at Utah State, right?
Utah State. We talked about Georgia Tech. What school is this? Where was Hugh Freeze? Or where did Hugh Freeze go? It's an
he went to Liberty. He went to Liberty.
Where Turner Gill was.
I mean,
that's pretty funny. I didn't even know he was there. Colorado.
Yeah, they got the D coordinator from Georgia. That'll be good. But see, there's so much promise in the Pac-12, but they're just such a bad conference. I feel Herm, great story, but it's so bad that I don't know. It's just there's something needs to be done out there.
I think it has to be. Yeah, he can't grow it. It's like they just get a celebrity in for a couple of years
to
win
the
press conference. Yeah.
Yeah, but the conference as a whole, Larry Scott with that whole deal. I don't know if you've read anything about it, but it's just some of the TV, you can't get your team because of the cable network. It's just wacky. It's really wacky.
Maryland, Mike Locksley by DJ Durkin.
Oh God.
Ohio State, obviously. I don't know why they jumped to Ryan Day so quickly.
Maybe because he's a young guy. Maybe he's unknown. I don't know.
But don't you think
he's not unknown. He's a Chip Kelly guy. He was with them in New Hampshire and Oregon. Why not? I mean, where are you going to go? Were you going to go get Shiano?
No, I just think you could go get somebody, though. I mean, you could get someone better.
Like who? I think it's
Jeff
good.
Fisher. No, I'm just kidding.
I think it's good. I think it's good to go with the guy who needs to prove himself. I think sometimes that's a good move.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what happened. Look at USC. They did it. They go with the comfortable. Oh, this guy's here. And I think sometimes, I guess they wanted to keep the staff in place too. I don't think Urban's done coaching either, right?
Of course not. Of course not. He's going to go. He's going.
Where does he go though? Yeah, Notre Dame.
He's going to Notre Dame after Brian Kelly can't get it done.
Or sanctions. Does he go to the Cleveland Browns?
I think that was a little birdie that Yeah, give me that info too. I don't think he goes to the Browns. Come on.
Now, what smaller town Ohio college will Brian Kelly go to after this
It
one?
might be Miami. It's going to be Miami, and then he'll join the likes of Youngstown is coached by the old LSU guy.
Well, no, there's
and a Nebraska guy, and then Solich is at Ohio. It's like
yeah, but where is it? Wasn't Tressel at one of them or something?
Yeah, Tressel and what's his name is at Tressel's the AD at Youngstown State, the Penguins, and what's his name? The old Nebraska head coach. He won like 9 games 4 years in a row. And Nebraska said, "No, that's not acceptable." Got rid of him. Bo Pelini. That's yeah. So I say he winds up either at Toledo or Miami. You know,
and boy, do things fall apart fast for Bobby Petrino. Whew.
Oof. It's brutal. He's just such a weird. Like, I don't understand how a guy like that with that, he has that reputation, but I think he's finally done coaching. I mean, unless he goes so. D2 or D3 or something like that. His D1, he's done, I think, in major Division I college football.
He could always go to Sandusky State in Ohio.
He could.
Unfortunately.
Or he could have he might go, but Liberty would take him. You know what I mean? It's just, it's really weird. It's really weird. I don't know how a guy with that quote unquote character integrity can just get overlooked all the time. And he's like Larry Brown in that way.
Oh, I didn't even realize McElwain got a job.
Where's he at?
It's a C. What is this school? In the MAC.
Central Michigan?
Is that it? Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Central Michigan.
The Chippewas.
Yeah. So he went up to Michigan, and then he snuck on over to Central Michigan. It's one of those good. It's funny. They have all this stuff planned out. Wow. Jimmy Mack. Boy, coaching is funny.
Yeah. I mean, he was at Colorado State, too, which was good. He did a great job.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's any that are very interesting here.
How about Chip Kelly?
How about Mac Brown?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Wow.
Back in
Les Miles.
That's right. How can we forget? Well, did you hear his press conference, by the way?
No.
Les Miles. All the listeners and you, Matt, please do yourself a favor and listen to the Les Miles, introductory conference. I mean, easy money, right? You're in Lawrence, Kansas. You can't mess it up. He is just botching this layup. He's botching softball. It was one for the ages. It was brutal. It was brutal. It was really brutal.
Wow. Some notable retentions and extensions. Heupel at Central Florida.
Here's my question.
Oh yeah, you were going to talk about Chip Kelly.
Yeah, so they absolutely embarrass the Trojans, and I had that whole weekend planned out. Glad I didn't go, but I mean, that's Chip Kelly. He's got to come up with something, and he is. He's just waiting. They're not going to go, 4 wins next year. They're probably going to go 8 or 9. And he'll, take those 3-star athletes and they'll just outwork and outperform because they want to win. Chip, he's just so dangerous. I don't know. I think if you're, want to get into a great offense, you go to UCLA and you play for him. I think that's that's where football's going. I mean, it's been going that way since he was at Oregon. The wacky offenses and stuff. It's just more will be revealed.
How about Lovie Smith extended?
Oh yes, so he got a 6-year extension up there, right? And I think they went 3-9 again.
So I like this one. He's 9-27 in his 3 years. He did double his win total from 17 to 18, but they allowed 40 points or more in 6 different games. He's got the serious beard. But how about Chris Ash? Wow. Rutgers is just it's so bad I can't believe it. I don't know if it'll ever be. Yeah, I don't think it'll ever be good there.
I'm talking good, and good is like 7 or 8.
7-5.
7 or 8.
Yeah. 7-5, even 6-6. But please, 7-5. They can't even be 7-5. I mean, it's crazy. And there was just no move up in years.
Well, you think like there's a pendulum that swings or whatever. You get it hot at 1 year or whatever. No, it's not going to happen there. You hope it does. It's just kind of like their basketball team. Just not going to happen.
It was awful. All right. Well, that was pretty good. That was just over an hour. We usually take much more time, but we were very efficient about this one.
No, because there's nothing to talk about, dude. It was a bad year. Really bad.
Well, give us some credit.
Well, yes. But.
So thanks, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much. Looking forward to a great football playoff, and I think Alabama's going to win. And if they don't, I'll be shocked.
Sounds good.